off to a totally different, actually a group of speakers. Imagine, most of you probably living in Eindhoven, and please try to imagine that we're living 50 years ahead of us, and we are living in a city of 1 million people. Try to imagine how that city that we're living in right now will look like. What will be changed? What will stay the same? And how would our society look like? Those questions were questions that were asked to. Actually, it was a wedstrijd, competition. That's the one. A competition where a group of architects and one graphic designer worked on this to find a solution for this question in 24 hours. And in that group was Rick de Bond, Jasper Brus, Lisa Timmers and Joep Worms. And Rick and Jasper will tell you everything about this project.
Okay. So we joined a 24-hour competition about the city of the future. This competition, the Eindhoven Metropolis Challenge, was organized by two enthusiasts and study associations of urbanism and architecture. We won the first prize in the jury, presided by Pieter van Weesmaal, professor in urbanism. And the scenario was basically that 750,000 people from all over the world would come to Eindhoven, attracted by the high-tech industry. So imagine.
Well, this is well, you get a problem that many Dutch cities don't really know how to deal with. Problem of growth. Well, it gives us a dilemma that many Dutch cities are struggling with. So are we going to waste more landscape on city extensions, or are we going to keep building in the existing center and thereby damage the character of the city? Here I copied Blixenbos 75 times to show how much space we would need to house 750,000 people. Well, we found a way around this dilemma, we think, by hacking the model of the city. So we said, well, if we don't want to sprawl out the city over the landscape, and if we don't want to destroy our inner cities, then just develop right in between those two. So this is CORTEX, our circular metropolis around the existing city. And well, it's super exciting because it has a very high population density, and it has a super efficient infrastructure because it's around. So 1 million people live at the same street. Well, compact cities are, as it turns out, much healthier and more energy efficient than spread out cities, because you don't have to take the car too much. And also they're much more exciting because there's a support base because of the high population density for niche facilities like the best schools and museums and all that stuff. So they are much more tailored to the individual. You can find all the facilities there. So really, big cities give the individual much more space to develop themselves. So, well, in CORTEX you have to imagine that these buildings are really big. So really everything is possible. If you like gardening, you can live in a sort of green tower with all gardens woven all through the structure. If you you like Swiss mountains, then you can live in a chalet of 500 meters high or something like that. So it really gives the individual all kinds of space.
But then we have the problem of virtual space, which is already there. Nowadays we have Facebook, which has this personalized news feed. And this kind of locks us in some kind of individualized space. It's like hyper-personal. And we want to counter this. we think it's very important that you share part of your worldview with your neighbor and with the other citizens. So this is why we want to create some kind of common space, see it as a public space, and we want to use history to do that. So we have a shell of unrestricted development around a very conservative core. And we design this core in such a way that everybody can enjoy history. So think of it as a paradise. It could be a theme park, a history theme park. And the mayor called it the living room of the city. So it should be very accessible to everyone. Think of an Amsterdam canal in the Drensdorp. And well, it's just leisure time and enjoying history.
Well, really, this city is, of course, very artificial, you could say, because even history is fake. Everything is generated in factories, even our food. Our homes are at the 164th floor, so it's very disconnected from nature, you could say, and thereby it's perhaps very estranging. But we think it isn't, because CORTEX is right in between city and nature, so you can be in nature within 5 minutes. Looks a bit like an old city wall, so it really demarcates the city as an object in itself, but it also keeps out the enemy. Except this time the enemy is not other people, but it's oer-natuur, such as we make in the Oostvaardersplassen. You can experience vulnerability, fear of death, really the freshness you need as a counterweight to this artificial reality. This is our metropolitan hut in the wilderness, in fact.
So we were asked to present this design at the Dutch Design Week, and we wanted to use this opportunity to have discussions with people about the built environment, because of course the built environment is very important in the way it influences our lives, and many people are affected by it. So we designed an urban model as some sort of discussion table to have this debate. This table was also a very provocative object. If someone would have stepped in and destroyed our model, we would have been think of this project as quite successful. Nobody didn't, but we're still happy. So, well, what we hope for what this brings to the future, what we want to communicate is a sense of what we would use the word maakbaarheid for. How would you explain it? Well, we have these public debates, and they seem to be kind of infected with false dilemmas. And as designers, we can design third ways out of these false dilemmas, so that these false dilemmas of growth or conserving the city do not really exist.
Okay, thank you so much. I want to bring Lisa and Joep also to this stage kind of thing. Are there any questions for this group? Because I can imagine, yeah.
How do I say this? Because I don't really want to piss in your parade, but this idea isn't really new, is it? Like there is this concept in America being proposed about the future of the city, and it looks quite the same. It has the circular build with high-speed trains in a circle around it, buses to the middle. I think that like it seems like you pretty much thought of the same idea.
Well, it's not. You are not pissing in our. We spoke to I think hundreds of people, and this is new for us. So we would like to hear the name of this project, of course.
I'll look it up. At the end of this night, I'll come to you and I'll show you.
Oh, that's nice.
The link to this project. There is actually a project for this.
Okay. Cool.
this concept has been around for about 50 years now. So for anybody who's familiar with science fiction, it doesn't ring too weird. And I don't think it's pissing on their parade, and I really admire the debate you're trying to stir with the concept, which you put out there by saying if somebody destroyed the model, we'd be very happy. I hate the idea. Don't do this. It's horrible, and poor nature is not an enemy. It's a great idea to bring out here.
Good.
Sometimes this kind of environment happens by incident. I did live in Bremen, and there you can experience this kind of environment because Bremen has a limit, and all that building has to be within the limit. But if my experience, I did live in such a building on the edge, but if a working place is not integrated, we did experience that it generates a lot of traffic.
Yeah. It's. I think. Yeah. Well, we are against this sort of separation of functions. So we don't want to say like you have to live in the ring or and work in the center or something like that. What we actually propose with this model is a separation between developing speeds. So many people are more conservative about the city center because there are monuments and people want to more conserve that. But on the other hand, you would want to use all technologies and progress that modernity and globalization brings to the city. But you don't want to clash those two, the need for history and the need for progress. So we separated those two. That's the idea. So it's not a functional division, but it's a developing speed division,
Yeah.
I think.
Can I ask you a question? What was the part in this project that you really hope is going to happen in the future?
I'm very skeptical about a project. I have to be positive, but the idea in the challenge was that people had to make some kind of solution for the problem with 1 million inhabitants, and a lot of people came with a physical solution, but we were more like, no, we don't have to make an apartment for people to live in not much square meters, but we want to bring forward some kind of theory, a philosophy for how people are acting towards each other right now and towards our environment. And I hope that this project lets people think about how we treat our world, so that we don't have to live in CORTEX.
And I was wondering, and it's a question for you, really. What would your personal dream be when you are looking at the future in 50 years? What do you want Eindhoven to look like?
Honestly, kind of the same as it does now. I don't really want things to change much, but if something like this happens, if 1 million people came to live here, I think it's a great idea to preserve our culture. And if this is the right solution for that, I don't know. It's an option, but is it the best option? Maybe, maybe not. It's something we will have to see. But it's good to think about, because 50 years is a lot closer than we think.
Okay.
I would like to say. Sorry.
Oh yeah, of course.
You of course are right to be cautious when these top-down designs are coming, because it happened before and it was quite destructive in the Netherlands and also in cities around the world. But we also should be careful about accepting the current situation, because the current situation is one of extreme urban sprawl, which gives the Netherlands one of the highest environmental footprints on Earth. And this urban sprawl is one of the main causes for that. And well, in the Netherlands, this has the form of gebundelde deconcentratie. Small, not so really cities that we spread over the landscape. And well, we really can't continue in living in that way. So we really have to try to search for alternative models, we think. So this is what we also want to bring about.
Okay, I think enough food for thought, and maybe a talk for later by the drinks, maybe. Thank you so much.